I moved to Peekskill after the 9/11 attacks in New York City. My law firm was at the World Trade Center, and my office was on the 56th floor of the North Tower. I had a one-bedroom cabin in Reynolds Hills, a tiny little cabin community near Bear Mountain Park. And I came to this area to heal. I was surrounded by friends and the beauty of the Hudson River. In 2013, that all changed. I was the president of the cabin community, and it was my job to oversee the well-being of the community. I received a notice in the mail from Spectra Energy. I'd never heard of them. They said that there was a pipeline, an old pipeline, going through our property, and they were going to add a big 42-inch diameter, high-pressure pipeline going through our beautiful wetlands and some of our forested area. Then I found out that it was going to go by the nuclear plant at Indian Point. And I thought, Indian Point? Why are they being allowed to put a 42-inch high-pressure gas pipeline that goes right adjacent to Indian Point?
My husband and I bought our home here in Peekskill in 2011, and we didn't know it at the time, but we were buying a house 400 feet from a large transmission gas pipeline. Some stuff off the table there. In October of 2013, a local organization called Stop the Algonquin Pipeline Expansion held an info session at our local library. And I stayed home with our kids, and my husband went, and he came home and said, either these people are crazy or we need to move, because there's a pipeline 400 feet from our front door, and the company wants to expand it right next to the nuclear power plant.
When I found out that they were going to take our property by eminent domain for this huge pipeline, I started filing comments and going to hearings with every single government agency I could think of. I was outraged. Is Nita there? Is she in the district today?
No, she is not. She left the district, as a matter of fact, only a couple of hours ago, but yes, she's not in the district.
The federal government preempts all of our state agencies and other federal agencies. And what FERC says you can do if you're a pipeline or fossil fuel company.
We found out that a gas pipeline company called Spectra Energy, which was then bought by Enbridge, wanted to expand the pipeline so that they could export fracked gas overseas. And it didn't matter what was in the path. You know, the 300 kids at that school, my community, the 20 million people living around Indian Point Nuclear Power Plant, we are all acceptable collateral damage if something goes wrong.
There was a number of people who literally was going through the backyard. It's right next to Peekskill, this community of Reynolds Hills. And people from there and people from Peekskill really joined together to start a movement to try to stop the pipeline.
I'm Benjamin Shepard from Brooklyn, New York City. And we're here to ask if all of our elected representatives are on record as being against this pipeline. If the mayor of Peekskill is on record of being against the pipeline, if the people of Peekskill are on record as being against this pipeline, who's calling the shots? The people or the corporations?
While one protester put herself in harm's way. This is her land, but the company took an easement through eminent domain, and she doesn't...
We have gotten the word out, and yet the fact that we have to go to the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, FERC, to get it stopped means it's not going to happen.
It has the green light for regulators in Washington, but critics say it's moving too far too fast and needs a court review.
My feelings about the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, or FERC as we call it, I question their motives, actually, because it seemed to me, and I've been over to meetings where they have their meetings, they do their due diligence, they have everybody come out and speak, and I did, and they just nod and go away and do what they were going to do anyway, it seems to me, which is approve things even in the face of really damaging information, and it gets approved. So I question them, I question the NRC, I question some of the federal agencies that are supposed to be watching out for us, and they don't.
They make up the rules as they go along. They give themselves extra time to consider it, to keep us from going to federal court to stop it. And that, I think, is unconstitutional. They are an industry that they're captured by the industry. They are really a RUE agency. All of their funding comes from the fossil fuel industry. If there were no new projects, there would be no agency.
These are dangerous and risky things to have in your backyard.
The impact that it can have if it were to go wrong, if it were to rupture, or if anything were to explode, you're going to hurt people from here all the way to New York City. You're talking about 45 miles. People that'll be impacted, and that's a concern that you have to make a priority. You know, it's a scary thought, and for anyone who can say, and I don't mean to point fingers or judge anyone, but for anyone who can say, don't worry, it's a small chance of it happening, when you actually look at the places where it has happened, that should be enough to make you reconsider.
In the 3 Massachusetts communities rocked by a series of random and devastating gas fires and explosions, residents are running out of patience with their fingers pointed at Columbia Gas.
How do I have any confidence that you're going to fix this now? So we
Can
really
I have someone
want to
call you back on that?
The reason that this was allowed to happen over the objections of health and safety experts, pipeline experts, nuclear experts, our local, state, federal officials, everyone opposed this. And the reason it was allowed to be built is because the people on the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission are not in the business of protecting communities. They're in the business of facilitating the construction of fossil fuel infrastructure.
We've had Senator Schumer, Senator Gillibrand, and Governor Cuomo come out and call for FERC to immediately halt construction on this project. Governor Cuomo specifically cited the risks that construction activities could pose to Indian Point Nuclear Power Plant, and all of those calls were completely ignored by the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. And we've routinely heard from our elected officials that they don't have any power over FERC, that they don't hold any sway. And I don't see how it is possible that we have a commission that is able to approve this kind of reckless infrastructure and have zero oversight. They are completely unaccountable.
With our pipeline here, the woman who oversaw the environmental impact statement, her husband worked for the pipeline company. That's who's deciding what's acceptable, what risks and impacts can be mitigated, are people whose have a vested financial interest in these pipelines being built. So there was no one looking out for us at the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. We took it all the way to the Court of Appeals in the DC Circuit. They sided in favor of the pipeline company.
They were not able to stop the pipeline. So now we have this pipeline that's running right next to Indian Point.
They built the pipeline, they took our land by eminent domain. We never would have sold it.
If FERC doesn't continue to try to work with the community, it's going to be a problem in the long run. And again, with the people who are above my level of government, they're really starting to pay attention to, and that's what we needed.